So here's the end of this thing.
Gets that close together.
So yeah, we're going to go get rid of this thing here. And maybe we'll make a video when we get to the new owner. It's the same guy, believe it or not, that bought the ZR440 and the diesel tractor. He just wants everything I own as I get rid of them. It's kind of weird, but yeah, this is going there.
Hey,
and hey, wait, he even wants my truck. He even wants my truck.
Hey, we should have loaded it backwards and drove it off the back for him.
Yeah, he watched the videos and seen what Adam did to this thing, and he still wants it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, it started up first pole in the yard after sitting for a while, so
that's
that's
like half a pole.
So it's still running good.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, well, maybe I'll make an update when we get out there.
Maybe I'll explain to him what the old Blue Thunder stands for.
Well, this video is kind of useless. It's just pitch black. But anyway, we're here. He's taking the sled for a ride around on the grass. So, yeah, grass. You're not showing up here, but there's no snow. Again, this is the guy I sold the diesel tractor to, Tanner. And it's the guy I sold the ZR440, and he just picked himself up a Ford F250 4x4. So, see here. Ooh, that sounds good on the mud and gravel, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't want to blind him with the light, so I'll shut. And you got to push and hold on that one. It's one off a dirt bike, so it doesn't just lock down. You got to push and hold it.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. How do you find it?
Runs good.
Besides the fact that you're on mud.
Yeah. A little bit of snow be nice.
Yeah. Oh, you do got a fair bit of snow back there.
Yeah.
Well, seeing Adam doesn't want to wait for parts to come in. He wants to go take her for a ride. I'm just threading this holes in. So, yeah. It literally threads in. And seems actually like a pretty decent fit. So I'll thread that in. I'm not using any kind of strainer on the bottom or anything. And then I'll hook up the inline fuel filter, and it'll just be a temporary thing just to give it a test. This takes a lot longer than you would think it would. From starting off about right here to there, 15 minutes. Holy shit. So you can see it in there. So I'm probably going to pull it out with the pliers or a hook and put a brass fitting on it just for weight. Again, this is just temporary thing. But all I'm doing is screwing it. Spraying a little bit of lube on there if I need to. And once I get it in up to about right here, I'll probably just put some lube in there, shove it in, and it'll just be a temporary kind of fix. I know I could probably go to like my local plumbing store and get a brass one, but for now, this is just temporary. And that's what I mean about just a cheap temp system. Yes, that will rub through if I drove it like that, but again, this is just to get it started, and then I'll probably route some stuff. This hose, I don't have a long enough one to go underneath here. So, okay, let's see if she builds some fuel pressure. Okay, well, she runs. And I just flicked her off. I don't want to run her much longer because I got some fuel in the bottom there. And I don't want to catch a fire, and I got some fresh fuel underneath her, as you could see. So, those carbs have to be cleaned. I just looked at this, and look at that. That one vent line right here that goes to the bottom, they got it zip tied into that corner for some odd reason. You know, I had the carb off, but I never looked at that side. That's the one that goes just like this one. So I guess they did that so it doesn't touch the steering stem, but it's being pinched off right here. Right? And right there at the very bottom. I won't be able to get a very good shot of it, but it's just not pinched off that bad right there. But so yeah, I'm going to pull right off these carbs, give them a cleaner, an ultrasonic cleaner, because with the shit that was in that tank and the fuel filter, who knows? Okay, so getting back to working on the sled here. Darren Sharon is just leaving, YouTube user. So him and my pops are going for some good old-fashioned coffee. And what did he forget? Okay, nothing. Okay, so I went and bought some fuel line. I got to pull off that carb. I tried whacking it. I even pulled off the float bowl. It actually didn't look that bad. But it's enough that it won't stop leaking. So, I'm going to pull right off both carb. I'm going to get rid of this flimsy dirt bike fuel line, and I'm going to put on some sled fuel line. Basically, the only difference is the sled stuff's a little bit thicker. So, And other than that, going to pull off the carbs, check them out, see if I can figure out why the needle and seat keeps on leaking. So I also have to adjust all the settings on them, make sure they match. So right now, of course, everything's just kind of done by eye. I already double checked everything pretty much on them, but of course the old owner had them rebuilt not too long ago, or cleaned not too long ago, but you know, stuff sitting most likely is a good thing to do it again. So I do need to probably change this throttle cable here. This one here is weak. What's this say? Which also could be another reason why it was revving up on them, because your throttle cable under a little bit of RPM will actually pull up a little bit, so which could cause you to, you know, run a little bit high idle. Fuel pump there, I still do want to pull it off the crankcase vent. I want to install a clear line on here and put a loop in it just to make sure I'm not getting any fuel back into the crankcase. Another way to do it would be just with a vacuum gauge, which is probably the easiest way. And still need to check the crank seal. There's multiple different ways to check a crank seal. You can spray, you take a propane torch and you put a fuel line duct taped on the end of the propane torch, and you kind of just go around here, around your cylinder base gaskets on idle. But right now I can't get this thing to idle for more than a few seconds, just for the fact that it literally leaks fuel like a bitch. So basically I'll go around it with the propane torch. Another way is to spray some starting fluid, or WD-40 actually works pretty good. Some people even spray water, which I don't really like doing that. The other thing you could do is actually physically choke out the carb, and one side, basically you set your idle at a medium idle. You don't want it at like freaking 2,000. You want to set it to about 1,000 at the most, I'd say, just for checking this. And you physically put your hand over top it, and you see if there's a difference between covering this side and covering this side. Basically, if you pick the one cylinder that's the strongest, it should stall the machine pretty much. So, and if it's leaking, you'll be able to put your hand on, and you will notice a bog. But if the engine physically doesn't stall, then you know it's sucking air somewhere else. And when you put your hand over it, you do kind of flood out the engine too, so it might be a little bit tricky to start back up after. Okay, well, I'll get started pulling off these dirty-ass carbs, and let's see what's causing that one to flood. Thing I thought I'd mention, it's a good idea to mark your left and your right carb, top and bottom. And even a float bowl, you can mark them in 3 spots. I normally will take a razor blade, and I'll just draw a line on each one and leave the other one without the line. Just make sure you always put them together the exact same way they came apart. I have no idea what's in these, if there's a gasket meant to be up at the top here or an O-ring where the seals, but yeah, let's find out once I get them all apart. So, okay, so here's something interesting. This one here, as you can see, it's just soaked in fuel. That came from that side. And this side here, dry. No fuel whatsoever on it. Well, I guess maybe a little tiny bit of polish on the bottom there. But that's just something I thought I'd mention. So, and they both do have the O-rings in there. So I will be making sure those are sealed up nicely when I'm done. Oh, force of habit, always remove your spark plug cables. Not on this, but something I decided to give it a pull once without the tops. And yeah, they scream. They rev, they scream. Do not pull a Mr. StarPuss. Okay, so I just double checked. I got decent fuel pressure, of course, out of both. And I looked at the way the choke cables here were adjusted. I got a burp. Adjusted, and look at this one. There's some kind of white corrosion on it. I could ever focus. Really? Really? It's about the best you guys are going to get. There you go. You can see there's a bunch of white corrosion shit on here. And they're completely out of adjustment. Like this, look how short that one is, then look how long that one is. The cables are different lengths, so it's kind of hard to get them side by side, but, and hold my camera. So you can see right there. So yeah, one's going to be running on choke and one's going to be running on no choke. even when the choke's shut off. There we go, carbs off. That's a few second job. You know, I wonder too, with that choke that far out, that would make sense. A few issues that I had, but oh, note to self: smoking right on top of gasoline-filled can there. Probably not the smartest thing to do. So, yeah. And of course, the rubber intake boots, everything's good. I am thinking of changing those oil injector lines. I do got some good fuel line I just picked up. So, stuff I've been using on almost everything. Okay, so I got the carb apart here. The fan you're hearing is from my lighting, LED lighting system here. Yeah, it needs a cleaning. So, let's just say the idle jet was pretty well almost plugged solid. This one here was for the PTO side carb. And this thing has 300 jets in it, which actually isn't plugged up or anything. Yes, it's not going to focus, I know. So, and yeah, she's a dirty one. She needs to be cleaned. Nowhere near, like, I mean, this carb he had recently cleaned, but I mean, it's just a lot of grime in it that needs to be gone through. So, and I don't know what someone did here to this, that input line. Look at this all, oh, god damn it, why don't you focus? There you go. This is all chewed up with pliers on the side here. So I'll try to file that down so it doesn't rip any fuel lines. So a little bit of green in the vent lines there. So yeah, just kind of thought, for some reason I pulled the bowl off the other one. I think I was missing the splash guard, I guess you can call it. I don't actually even remember what the proper name for that would be. So, and I'm actually going to take the other one apart just so I can double check the float level between them, make sure they're exactly the same. So I guess I'll start on that one. Just clear a little bit of space on the workbench here. Okay, I know it wasn't missing on this side. So, for some reason I thought I remember this being missing. But nope, they're both here. So, okay, tear this apart and let's see if all the numbers match up. Here I am on the other side, and this side is leaking the vacuum test, so it's the O-ring around the actual seat itself. So that's simple enough. I got a bunch of spare O-rings that I actually bought for another carb, which should fit these, and to be honest, just standard O-rings a lot of people use too. But when working with fuel, it's always better to try to get the proper O-rings. Okay, so the problem why this side was leaking so bad is right here. There's physically nothing holding this in place. This O-ring is flatter than flat can get. Wish I could focus to show you guys. Is that any better? Yeah, there's nothing there whatsoever. Falls right in, pulls right out. See? So yep, I'll have to put a new O-ring on that sucker, and I might as well pull this one out and do the same, which I always remove them anyway. So the only thing I really never bother doing is pulling out the actual slide base itself. So, oof. Yeah, these are pretty gooey looking. But again, this is nowhere near as bad as I have seen before. Again, these carbs were recently cleaned. It's just, this is something that not many people, to be honest, will ever remove. So, because most people think that they're a bitch to get back in. So, I actually got a whole pack of O-rings I bought specially for the seats. And it was so dry rotted, it literally came out in pieces. Look at that. And this side here, if I could focus. That side there, just as bad. You see one side is pretty well sealing on a little bit. Yummy. And you would not believe how many times I pulled those out and found a whole ball of garbage lined up on the back side of that. In my opinion, this is the best way to check a needle and seat. Just a simple vacuum gauge. Simple vacuum gauge. Works great. And there we go, nice and clean, ready to be reinstalled. And now time to pull these apart and make sure they're on the same needle position on each one. So you can actually do it by just looking at the bottom. And yeah, they look like they are, but I'm still going to disassemble just to check out the condition of the cable and the spring and everything. Okay, so you can see this is the fuel line they had on it, and this is what I'm switching it to. Yes, that's autofocus. There you go, that's a bit better. This stuff is nice and thick, rated for cold weather. You could bend it, it will barely kink. This stuff, you bend it even a little tiny bit, and that happens. See? This stuff is real soft. Very soft compared to that. And I just dropped it into the dirt. Or in a kitty litter. So, this stuff here, I just bought at my local crap tire. Cost me roughly $1 a foot. If anyone cares. There you go. And that pile of stuff right there is what I traded the old Citation for. There's a bunch of gun barrels here, a couple bull barrels, a couple brand new barrels, shotgun barrel, powder, lots of primers, some dies, some reloading stuff, some barrel action tools for removing barrels, and yeah, gotta start going through that. And as for this thing here, I finally got it so it runs. So it's running. Now I can actually finally start checking for leaks and going through it. So still not running proper, but it is running. So yeah, what I got to do later on today when Adam gets here is I'm going to have to spray around this, the machine here, check for any kind of air leaks. Power valve on this side here is acting up. And yeah, I just got to kind of go over it and, you know, decide what I'm going to do. So I am still tempted just to yank out the engine, put in all brand new gaskets, seals, rings, kind of freshen it up. Because we did get a little bit of snow, but it's going to be gone soon. So you see, we got about 4 inches of snow, 3 inches of snow. And as you can see here, the guy did change the cylinder on it. So this is the cylinder he changed. You can see it has been sitting outside for a while. And here's the piston that came out of it, which, you know, it's not that bad, but oh, I almost shit myself there. So yeah, could be cleaned up, could be used as a spare. Lots of meat on those skirts there to freaking bore them over, hey? Holy shit, and look at a room for porting. Yeah, lots and lots could be done to that cylinder to give it some extra kick. Well, time to start going through this mess like I said last. So yeah, that's a crack right there. And that's a crack right down there. That's why you do not use a non-impact socket on an impact gun. I sure hope I didn't freaking strip those threads in there. They look still good. Or the 12-point socket. So yeah, I guess I'm off to try to find a new 12-point socket. 1/2 inch is what this one is. I think that's right size. I don't think it's 13, so could be, but damn, that sucks.